Very quiet when half the center's
Let's
online.
wait a second. Okay, you're good.
I call this meeting to order at 8:30 p.m. Secretary Massesni, can you please do roll?
President Steinheiser. Present. Vice President Jacobs.
Present.
Parliamentarian LeGrand.
Present.
Kirsty Grimby.
Present.
Webmaster Siegfried.
Present.
Treasurer Shapitas. Treasurer Lorenz. Senator Dacker.
Present.
Senator Burns.
Present.
Senator Flanagan. Present. Senator Raimondi.
He's
Senator
present.
Yes.
Yeah, he just can't.
Okay.
Wait.
Senator Chenoweth. Senator Robinson.
Yeah.
Senator Biancardi.
Present.
Senator Aries.
Here.
Senator Pariso.
Here.
Senator Reynolds.
Here.
Senator Vicari.
Here.
Senator Husama.
Present.
Senator Lurch. Here. Senator Zaki.
Here.
Senator Jones.
Here.
Senator Pandy.
Here.
Senator Robb.
Here.
Senator Nelson.
Here.
Senator Fickle.
Here.
Senator Doyle.
Here.
Senator Brown.
Here.
Senator Bogenhoff. Senator McMillan.
Here.
Senator Schneider.
Here.
Senator Ford.
Here.
Senator Bogusky.
Here.
Rosenthal.
Thank you. And before we move on with our agenda, for the people on Zoom, Parliamentarian LeGrand will be taking your vote just to help me out. I'll be taking the vote in person. So if you could all keep your hands up until Parliamentarian LeGrand counts you, thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Jennifer Easthope, who will be taking questions and getting some feedback from you guys about Starfish. Welcome her.
All right. Thank you for having me today. As you mentioned, I'm Jennifer Easthope. I'm the Interim Executive Director for Retention and Student Success. I've been at Valpo since 2012, previously as an academic advisor. And so my purpose here today is to really talk about Starfish. The reason this came up, and Ben may have mentioned this to you, last week at University Council, it was mentioned that there was some concern about communication about Starfish and what Starfish is exactly. So I was hoping to kind of have a conversation with you about your feelings on Starfish, feedback, how you feel like we can get the word out about Starfish. But I think first what's important is for me to explain what Starfish is. Starfish is our online retention software. It's intended for early intervention and early alerts for any students that might be struggling. So it's really meant to aid in communication, not keep communication from going out. It's used a lot behind the scenes between faculty and advisors, and for advisors to use to communicate with students or back to faculty. It's replacing some of the things that we previously did through DataView. And so now some of those early alerts are being done through Starfish, because what happens is when a student receives a flag, which means there's some concern about what students are doing in that class, it saves to their profile so the advisor can go back and see and kind of track, is a student consistently having, problems with attendance, or in one class is receiving multiple flags. Whereas when we did things through DataView, it wasn't really tracked. You had to go through your email. It just makes it a little bit easier for advisors to help students. So that's its intention. There's a lot more to it, but I just wanted to keep it brief because I know you have a lot on your agenda today. But really my purpose here is to kind of get feedback from you. What is the best way for us to be more transparent about Starfish or things in general, communicate out to students? I know that you guys receive a lot of emails, so I've been told that's not always the best way to communicate, but we don't really know what the best way to get that out there is. So I open it up to you for feedback, suggestions, questions. And I'm going to take notes on my laptop if you don't mind. Yes.
Personally, I feel like I don't interact with it enough. I don't know what's its intended purpose of use is, and how much of a use that I should be doing with it. And I think that's with a lot of my friends or students that I've been concerned. Either it's a service that just provides a limited amount of use, or that's a service that they should be interacting with a lot of times. So, like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So like, what should students be doing in Starfish?
Yeah.
There are uses for students in Starfish. There's an intake form. So I did send an email out early last month about an intake form that you can do in Starfish. So you log in using your Valpo login, and it's just a way for you to kind of give your advisor a little bit more background information on yourself. Other than that, when you log into Starfish, a student has kind of their Success Network screen, which kind of gives you easy access all in one place. Your Success Network, which would be like all of your instructors, your primary advisor, all their contacts, and then the campus resources. So it's really kind of a one place you can go where all of those are in front of you rather than having to search through things. You will also receive some communication through Starfish. A lot of those go to your email though, so they don't necessarily have to be seen through Starfish. But there's not a lot for students necessarily to do in there. It's more of a software that's kind of used behind the scenes to help students. But there are some things that students can do in the program. Yes.
For me personally, I haven't really interacted with it too much. I know last year, kind of, on a normal year, I would use it for meetings with my professor, but I felt bad. Never really used. So I think I think there's just a lack of use in overall throughout the university.
So you mean on the students' end, there's a lack of use?
Yeah, I think to me, for me, I've never really used it outside of just one class. Like I know this year, recently I just started getting my first updates, from Starcast where that. So I think it's just a lack of use.
Okay.
Overall.
Yes.
I think going off that, for this semester especially, we have so many online platforms right now, Google Meets, Blackboard, DataView, just all the Google stuff and Zoom and just all these things. It's so hard for us to want to do something that's not required for class. When it comes to communication, I think we're fine with like one email, just explaining, here's what it is, here's what you can do. And no like fluff in the email, just tell us like what it is, because I think a lot of us don't really know what it is. And I think one email is okay, just the repeated emails is what we don't like.
Right, no, that makes sense. So to follow up on those couple of things, like I said, it doesn't require regular use from students, so the student side of things. I really just wanted everybody to know we're not like hiding it from you. It's not that lack of like transparency necessarily. It's just there are limited things that students do. It's really intended to kind of help faculty and staff better help you. It rolled out last fall. So if you're junior or senior, you may not be as familiar with it because the intention was that each year students would be introduced to it through Core 110 and CC 110. Last year they did live presentations. This year we couldn't do that just because of everything that's going on. So IT put a quick 5-minute video together, which unfortunately was delayed just because of everything IT had to do this fall. So that could be another reason why some freshmen aren't familiar with it. But based on some suggestions so far, it sounds like we just kind of need to reintroduce it through an email, quick and to the point, maybe give out a couple links, or if you have time, here's a longer blurb about it, or here's a how-to video if you want to set up your profile kind of thing. Okay.
Just to give some feedback on my peers' perception, I asked them what they think Starfish is and how they use it. And for those who are doing well in their classes, they say that they just get random emails that say you received a kudos. They don't know why, they just know who gave it to them.
Mhm.
They said sometimes they just get several from the professors and they don't know why. I'm not sure if there are any kind of quotas or what professors are encouraged to do.
You'd think so. There's not.
But they said like every once in a while, it'll be a certain point in the semester and they just get 5 kudos. For students who aren't doing as well in this particular class, they'll receive a kudos that says, or not kudos, but an email that says, a reminder about, hey, you're missing assignments or these things that are going on. One in particular mentioned that she wasn't receiving, or she was receiving the emails through Starfish, but wasn't being contacted by her advisor or anything, so wasn't sure what the purpose of the whole network of Starfish was.
Sorry, was that?
And then personally, I understand like it's like the network behind everything, so it's not so much for us to input anything or to do much. I think that you were right though to say that it would be helpful to have a informational kind of video or something that lets people know how Starfish is being used exactly and how they should respond to those emails, what those ones mean.
Yeah, thank you. That was really helpful. So there is not a quota, but the way that it's set up is there are 3 required touch points for faculty each semester. So within the first 2 weeks, it's kind of an attendance that just check in, has the student ever been to class? And then there's 2 what we call progress surveys, one in the first 7 weeks and one in the second 7 weeks. So when your friend's getting like 5 at once, it's likely all the professors responding to that progress survey. The purpose behind that is previously, advisors really didn't know what was happening with students unless the student came to them. So in order to be proactive, we needed to ask faculty to give us a little bit more feedback, let us know how the student's doing. So they don't have to give kudos. Sometimes it's just a way of saying, you're doing great, nice job. But the flags are really helpful. So we know if a student is in danger of failing or missing a lot of assignments, things like that. But if they're getting them all at once, it's likely in response to progress surveys. But I did take notes here about putting together, kind of an information video, a quick little snippet for everybody to say, this is what it is, this is what you can do. And in terms of the advisor not responding, I don't know what college you're in. In the College of Arts and Sciences, there's no longer professional advisors, and it has moved to faculty advising. So the switch there is still a little transitional. So I think some of the faculty advisors are still kind of getting a handle on how to respond themselves. So I did make a note to also follow up with the faculty and the advisors to let them know what they should continue doing through the program.
Are there any chats on Zoom?
No. Okay. Is there anything else? All right, well, thank you very much for allowing me to join you today. I'm going to take these notes back, and if I have follow-up questions, would you mind if I send them your way?
Yeah, of course.
And you can check? Okay, thank you again.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. All right, moving on to forum of concerns. Are there any forum of concerns on YouTube? Are there any forum of concerns on YouTube? No. Okay. All right, moving on to the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Is there a second?
Oh, sorry, I can make a motion to amend the agenda.
There is a motion to amend the agenda. Is there a second? What is your motion?
Motion to move screening committee, committee report after executive report, please.
Move screening after executive reports? Executive
yeah.
committee?
Yes.
Okay. All right, there is a motion to move screening to after executive committee. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of moving this, please raise your placards. Danielle, what's the count?
I got 11.
Should be 26 in total. That's only 22. The people on pause or that don't have their videos on, can you please? There you go. Brianna? Okay. All right, motion passes. All right. All in favor of approving the agenda as is now? Is there a motion? Is there a second? All in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your placards.
Voice vote, say aye.
I think we're all good. Okay. All right, moving on to senators' reports. Are there any senators' reports for today?
I have a report. So I am currently working on an SR for the Crusader Task Force. I believe that's what the committee is named. It's the committee that's figuring out if we are going to discontinue using the Crusader as our mascot. So I am currently writing an SR to give Student Senate recommendation. So if anyone is interested in helping out with this, I can send it to Paige to put it in the minutes, so anyone can look at it, or I can send it to people individually. So you can just email me or just let me know, and I would really appreciate if you guys want to help out with that.
Thank you, Senator Four. Are there any other senators' reports? Any on Zoom? Seeing none, moving on to advisors' reports. Hi. You're good, okay. Moving on to officers' reports. President Steinheiser?
Hello, everybody. So I'll start my report by giving you guys an update on the data dashboard SR. Ben and I met with Rick. Rick said everything we included in our operative clauses was pretty reasonable. There's just a few kinks he has to work out for like the implementation of some of them. So Ben and I are probably going to end up going to incident command sometime before the end of the semester. And Rick hopes to present the data dashboard to Student Senate by the end of this semester. Does anybody have any questions about that? Awesome. All right, so let's go into the VUPD feedback. I sent you guys all the transparency document. This is part of Associate Provost Miller's action agenda for racial and social equity on our campus. So these steps will then be implemented by VUPD, and the committee asked me to get your guys' feedback on it. So what did you guys think of the document? Positive or negative, either one.
Positive.
Good.
Good change.
Shri, did you have something?
It's positive. If I have an inquiry, what should I ask?
What'd you say?
If I have an inquiry about some of the points, like who should I call?
What are your inquiries? Because I'm the one who's like supposed to send that to them.
Okay, so like it was like providing data reliably and quickly on third point. So it was like, I like the idea, but like there was not a system in place that was talked about. Like it was just like a very vague statement there. So like it said it costs $6,000, but it's not broken down into specific costs and what that's going into. Maybe that would be helpful in moving forward.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So I can, Paige, if you write that down, I can just say like, hey, I would be very specific when you tell VUPD what you want them to implement, because Chuck said that would cost $6,000, but like the committee should understand what those costs are. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I can definitely ask. It's for the program that would allow them to collect the data. Like the program itself would cost around that much, but I agree that like there might be other costs aside from the programs.
I'm saying if they have like a clear vision of what the costs are, and then I'm fine. I would just like if they don't have it, that would be.
Okay, awesome. Ian, did you have something?
I was just curious, it's not exactly clear from the document if, like, you're currently in conversation with VUPD over this, or if it's something that you guys brainstorm on your own. I was just thinking it would be probably beneficial and more productive if you were talking with someone from VUPD to work out these concerns directly.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not on this committee. Professor Potter is on the committee, and VUPD is also on the committee. So it's like, it's people from Associate Provost Miller's office working with VUPD to figure this stuff out. They want to know from us, like, is there anything else we would want to see or not want to see from this plan that they're currently developing? Any other feedback? Anybody from Zoom?
I guess I'm just curious how they're gonna share this data, because it kind of talks about all the data they're collecting. Or is it gonna be like emails? Is it gonna be reported in like the media outlets? Because I know we had a problem like when the whole grant situation was happening with like communication between the UPD and the students and transparency about what was going on. So maybe just kind of making sure that those numbers get out to students in a way that people will see it. You know, if they collect it, how will it be monthly? Will it be weekly? Will it be semester or quarterly? Just kind of figuring out how the data will roll out.
Yeah, that's super valid. I was wondering that too when I read through the plan. So I'll be sure to pass that over to them. Yeah, Kendall?
Also, I guess maybe I'm missing it. When did this supposed to take place? Like, is this something acting now, or is this something acting like in the future, or what?
I think the goal is to do as much as possible like now, but some of the stuff, like if they buy a new program, that probably won't happen immediately. Like the goal of Associate Provost Miller's plan is to like implement these changes. While some of them, like maybe putting extra links on the website are pretty doable, other parts of the transparency plan are definitely going to take some time. Anybody else? All right, cool. Thank you guys. Feel free to email me if you have anything else. I'll pass it over to Professor Potter. All right, so the next thing I have on my report is senatorial courtesy. We kind of discussed this at the retreat, but I know we have a lot of new student senators, which is amazing. So I just wanted to kind of go over this concept before we go into our discussion of the Senate resolutions tonight. So senatorial courtesy is a tradition in Student Senate. While there's nothing specifically mentioning it in our bylaws or our constitution, we really try to make sure that student senators are advocating for their constituents when they are sitting in their seat, when they are raising their placard, or when they are making decisions as a senator. So when you vote, if you're voting on something that has to do with an organization that you're a part of, or maybe an organization that you like have a very specific personal opinion about, that's when you should consider potentially abstaining. Because at that point, you're saying, hey, I have a conflict of interest here, and it overrides my ability to represent my constituents. Especially like if you're on the e-board for an organization, don't raise your placard for anything that would affect your own organization, because that's a conflict of interest. Similarly, when we're in discussion about an organization or a topic on campus that you're very intrinsically and personally connected to, it might be best if you don't speak on behalf of that cause as we're having this discussion, because when we're discussing, we're senators, we're representing our constituents. And if you are a part of an organization that we're having a discussion about and you're speaking up for them, you're giving that organization a privilege that not every other organization would have, because they don't have somebody who is personally invested in them sitting on Student Senate right now. So we really just have to make sure that we consider every organization evenly, especially when we end up doing the budgets tonight. Because we have to make sure that we are allocating funds based on the merit of the request and not our personal relationships with the organizations that are requesting money from us. And then in addition, like another part of senatorial courtesy, just be kind, be polite, be ready to have civil conversations with one another when we discuss different legislation. The election is tomorrow. That's the next thing on my report. So make sure that as student leaders, you are promoting a civil dialogue on our campus. And make sure you remind students that we will always represent them no matter what happens tomorrow, and no matter how they feel about the outcome of our national, state, or local elections, for sure. All right, now that that's out of the way, we all have to make it through this semester. And if there's one thing that I've noticed, it's that everyone is kind of having the same issue right now. eBoard discussed it today at length. Students are struggling because professors have backloaded work and we have a condensed semester, and there's not much of a way out, and this problem's common. So for me, when I see the entire campus experiencing a problem, I don't think that we should expect students to deal with this individually. I think we need structural change. I think this is when we come into play and we say, hey, we represent the students, let's talk about what we want to do. So we decided that we're going to write an SR directed at Provost Gilman. There's members of eBoard decided they were going to write an SR. Directed at Provost Gilman, explaining maybe some different solutions that we could have to improve this semester and make sure that next semester is not as stressful. Paige has access to that document. If any of you guys want to get involved with that or have any specific structural ideas, Ian, do you have one?
I just was wondering who's sponsoring it.
What'd you say?
Is anybody sponsoring it?
It's pretty much just the senators on the e-board. Yeah, it's under the advisory of Paige, but no one in eBoard has specifically asked to sponsor it yet, but that's when we were discussing it. So like I said, kind of up in the air right now, but if you want to get involved in doing this and have a specific idea about how we can make the student experience better, reach out to Paige or anybody on the eBoard, because everyone on eBoard is, by eBoard, I mean the committee chairs also, like the people who are actual student senators. Reach out to those student senators because everybody is involved in that conversation. Does anybody have any questions about that? All right, guys. Well, we're making it. Thanks for hanging in there, and thanks for coming to Senate tonight in person or online. Bye, guys.
Thank you, President Steinheiser. Moving on to my report, I want to give a little update about the constituency reports. We are no longer doing constituency reports for this quarter. It has been suggested to me in eBoard today, and further thinking about it, it's just a lot right now. I know you guys are all having a lot to do in your classes for final exams, and just adding one more thing, I know it's a lot. So what we're doing instead is we're going to write a report and have all of the senators sign onto it. It's literally just going to be one sentence saying how we're struggling, how we're burnt out, how we're overloaded, and that's going to be sent to the academic deans, the department chairs, your professors. I think it sends a strong message that it's just one sentence of we're done, we're burnt out. And if you believe in that, you can sign on to that. I think it sends a strong message too that each and every one of you who are student leaders or leaderships for your constituents, if you sign on to that. So that's what we're going to be doing instead of a quarter two report. Moving on, so we also made the difficult decision to move the next 2 student senate meetings online. So we will not be meeting in person the next 2 weeks. It will be on the same Zoom link. We'll do everything like we do on Zoom, and we'll be making a decision about what to do for the last meeting on November 23rd, whether things are better on campus or whether we should just stay online. We'll come to that decision closer to November 23rd. This is under the advisement of our advisors. Just with cases rising on campus, we want to make sure all of you are safe, all of you are healthy, and that we're not spreading the virus any further than we have to. Does anybody have any questions about that here or on Zoom? Okay, so one more time. Next 2 meetings, not meeting in person, we're meeting on the Zoom link. Yeah. Oh, also, is there an update on the bylaw proposal about adding the members to the committees right now? Are committees working on that?
The administration committee, I don't know if I'm speaking in line.
No, you're good.
So probably saying like I'm correcting it. The administration committee has looked at it and added a good amount to the bylaw proposal. It's still not done yet.
Okay, thank
But
you.
there has been progress made.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that this is still on everybody's mind, that we're still getting this done. So thank you, Senator Zaki. Are there any questions?
Motion to open the floor to parliamentarian or PRC Grumpy or the executive board.
Second.
I just have a question about going on Zoom for the rest of the semester. Last semester, when we did that, we made the meetings closed, and then I would post the recordings on to the website. Is that the same route we want to go with, or do we want to discuss that later?
I was going to discuss this with you later on how we could best make these meetings transparent, but also not have people mess with our voting procedures, because right now we may be doing the poll everywhere. I'm not sure yet. We have to work this out. We just don't want people coming into our meeting and messing with our polling. So we'll definitely work this out. We could talk about doing a Google Doc that's sent out to see if anybody informed concerns wants to fill that out. Does anybody have any suggestions of how we can do that? Best be transparent, but also be on Zoom. Okay, well, we can work it out in the next week. Does that answer your question, PRC Grimpy? Okay. Any other questions for my report? All right, moving on to Parliamentarian Grand. No report. Moving on to Secretary Mississippi.
Hi, everyone. Well, we just moved meetings online, but if we have in-person meetings and the option of Zoom, you don't have to email me that you're going to be on Zoom. I appreciate the communication, but I don't need 300 emails every meeting. And then in the effort to help with stress and encourage social distancing, I think it'd be best if we did office hours online just for the next couple of weeks, probably the rest of the semester. If you need help with like advertising your office hours, you can talk to PRC Grimpy. So you should just be available by email and work on SRs if you need to, and any committee work and report.
All right, thank you, Secretary Mosesny. Moving on to PRC Grimpy.
Hello, everyone. So this week on Wednesday, we will be starting our senator highlights on the Instagram and Facebook pages. We will be starting with the senior senators and then working our way down this week. So this week will be seniors, next week juniors, sophomores, freshmen, and then going into colleges and at-larges. Other than that, for student buzz, President Steinheiser had some words for Election Day. I have posted those on all of our platforms. Try to reiterate those concepts to your constituents of we represent all students regardless of political ideology, and that we function regardless of who the President of the United States is. Other than that, please encourage your constituents to abide by the COVID guidelines and in place, including quarantine orders. It's very important that for the last few weeks we can at least stay on campus and we can all be safe when we return back home and report.
Thank you, PRC Grimpy. Moving on to Executive and Assistant Treasurer Chaputis in the rounds.
For those of you who don't know, I will be graduating in a few weeks. So Mark will be taking over as the executive treasurer. And currently Mark and I are working with the screening committee to find the next assistant treasurer. So hopefully we will have someone to vote on in the next week or two.
Thank you, Executive Treasurer Chaputis. Moving on to committee reports. Executive Committee President Steinheiser.
No report, but while I have the floor, honestly, if you guys in the Zoom just have something to say, like I would just unmute or raise your hand and we'll call on you, because like it's hard to check the chat all the time and report.
What do we facilitate?
Okay, I'll check the chat later. Moving on to screening committee.
Okay, I'm gonna give her a report for her because she had to go to a different meeting. So basically what we're looking at right now is we have 5 candidates for the vice president that we're going through our interview process along later in the week. Other than that, we are working on filling the empty sophomore senator seat. Those are also going to be filled with, or like our interviews are going to be within the next couple days here. And then, like they mentioned before, we're working with the treasurers right now to fill the open assistant treasurer position. And report.
Is there any questions for Senator Bakri? Seeing none. Moving on to Finance Committee, Senator Parizo. If you want to share your screen.
I am trying. Hopefully it'll show up. Does it show up?
It's coming. There you go.
It's coming. Okay, perfect. I would like some motion to amend the slate to add Valpo Fellowship of Christian Athletes budget, which is highlighted in red currently, into the slate.
There's a motion to amend the Tier 3 budgets to add Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of amending this, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, here, I'll just do a placard one. Parliamentarian LeGrand, can you please count for me again? All in favor of approving the motion, please raise your placards.
I counted 14. Hopefully I'm not missing anybody.
Yep, that's the, all right, that passes 25-0-0. All right, Allison, you can continue.
Point of inquiry.
Yes.
Senator Parizo, when did they get their budget in? Just curious.
Did you hear that, Allison?
No, I couldn't.
Senator McMillan asked, when did they get their budget in?
For FCA,
Yes.
they had it in last week, but the way it was formatted, so it was correctly in as a tier 3, but the way it was formatted, it looked like a tier 2 because they didn't change the top heading. And they also left in some requests from the previous semester that made it look like a tier 2, but it was correctly in as a tier 3 as of last week when we did the proposed budget slate.
All right, moving on. Are there any, or Allison, are you finished, or can we move on to the discussion?
I would like to try to find the specific lines. Come back to me, sorry.
Right. Is there a motion to discuss, motion to amend, motion to change lines? Here or on Zoom. If you're on Zoom, you can just unmute.
I would like to motion to move $50 from the pot, into, like, on the slate, into, line, I think that's 55 on the Valpo FCA budget.
There's a motion to move $50 into line 55. What is it, the welcome for?
Welcome back. Point of inquiry.
Yeah, Senator Ford?
Before we do that, I am a little bit confused about how much is in the pot. Is that the bolded number, the 9,500 at the bottom of the slate document?
What's left is this 1,800.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, there is currently a
Second motion on the floor.
Or Senator Zaki, that was a second? Okay. So there is a second, all in favor of moving $50 into line 55 from the pot, please raise your placards.
Point of order?
Yes, point of order?
We are in discussion. Who wrote?
In the beginning discussion in order to amend the budget.
All right, is there a motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there is, the floor is now open. Okay. Senator Priso, can you remake your motion?
Sure, I would like to move $50 from the pot to line 55 of Valpo FCA's budget, which is the welcome back party.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of moving $50 from the pot to line 55, please raise your placards.
I counted 13.
All opposed? Parliamentarian LeGrand, is there any opposed? Any abstentions?
One abstention.
All right, motion passes 24-01. We are still in discussion.
I have a point of discussion.
Senator Zaki?
I don't necessarily have an issue with the money allocated to the budget, but upon looking closer, the representative listed as the vice president of College Republicans has graduated, which leads you to believe that they didn't update the contact info when submitting a budget. Just as someone who sits on the administration committee, we look at that as somewhat of a red flag that there might not be a lot of organization within this specific organization. So I just want that to be noted to the finance committee chair. But the budget's fine.
Thank you, Senator Zaki. Floor is still open.
I I would like to motion to move, $220 from the pot to lines 73, or sorry, to just line 73 on the Valpo SCA's budget. And I believe that's supplies and office necessities.
And you said $220?
Yeah,
All right, there is a motion to move $220 from the pot to line 73.
Second.
Second, there is a second. All in favor of moving $220 to line 73 from the pot, please raise your placards.
I counted 14.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion passes 24-1-0. We are still in discussion. Senator McMillan?
If nobody has any more motions to make on tier 3 budgets, I'd like to vote as a slate.
There is a motion to vote tier 3 budgets as a slate. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor of motioning to approve the tier 3 budgets as a slate, please raise your placards.
I counted 13.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
1.
We move back into discussion. Motion fails.
Why did the motion fail?
There was one abstention.
Oh, it has to be
It has to be
unanimous.
unanimous.
Motion to vote on the tier 3 budgets as a slate.
Second.
All right, all in favor of motioning to approve tier 3 budgets as a slate, please raise your placards.
I counted 14.
All right, any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, tier 3 budgets are approved 25-0-0. Thank you guys. Thank you Finance Committee for all your hard work.
everyone, and report.
All right, moving on to Administration Committee, Senator Saki.
Yes, so the administration committee met earlier tonight to vote on the recognition of 2 organizations. The first of the 2 is SAFE, which is the Sexual Assault Awareness and Facilitative Education. This organization serves to promote education and awareness around sexual assault and sexual education on campus. They function within the SAFE office, and they are primarily SAFE advocates, so students that help to support other students that have these kinds of experiences and also work to educate the campus. The administration committee saw no issues with their recognition process and voted 5-0-0 for them to be approved. The second organization that we voted on earlier tonight was SAC, so the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. This is another organization that's been functioning on campus without Senate recognition for several years now. They do have a specific place within the university governance structure as the student body that represents athletes on campus. Their constitution states that they are open to all students, that you do not have to be an athlete to be involved, which is why the administration committee voted to approve them, again unanimously with a 5-0-0 vote. Are there any comments, questions, or motions on these 2 organizations?
Really quick, Senator Zaki, what was the first organization again for myself?
SAFE.
Are there any questions for Senator Zaki? Is there a motion to discuss? a motion to vote?
Motion as a slate.
There is a motion to vote as a slate. Is there a second? All in favor of approving SAFE and SAC, please raise your placards.
Mm-hmm. 13.
All opposed?
Hey Ben, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but, we're motioning to vote as a slate,
Yes.
which is not the same as, so when we do that, we have to vote again, right?
No, so
Because-
if we're voting as a,
You motion to vote as a slate, and then you vote on the slate.
Yeah.
So two different motions.
Motion to vote as a slate and a motion to approve it. So we have to read.
all right, there was a motion to approve this as a slate. Is there a motion to approve that? Is there a motion to approve this as voting as a slate?
I would make the motion, but I already made the first one.
Point of inquiry,
Yes, Senator Zaki?
can someone repeat the motion that's on the floor to those of us on the Zoom call, because we can't really hear?
There was a motion to approve this as a slate. And there was a second to that.
Okay, so we're voting to vote as a slate, and then we're going to vote again to approve it, just so people understand?
Yes.
Okay.
So is there a motion? Senator Zaki?
I second the motion to vote as a slate.
So there's a motion to vote as a slate, and there was a second. So is there a motion to approve this as a slate?
Motion to approve this as a slate.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving this as a slate, please raise your placards.
Fourteen.
All right, motion to approve SAFE and SAC as organizations on campus. Please raise your placards.
I have 11.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
1.
Is there 2 people that did not vote? Senator Brown, what do you vote as?
I vote yes.
Is there still 1 person who has not voted?
Senator Doyle. I didn't receive a vote from him.
Oh, I voted yes.
Motion passes 24-0-1. All right. Senators,
I have more to the report
Yes.
as well. We're getting through it, guys. I believe in us. Okay. Our committee also met earlier today to discuss the recognition of 2 other organizations that are in the process of applying for recognition. Those organizations are VUSOC, which is the Valparaiso University Student Organizing Committee, and Valparaiso University Young Americans for Freedom. Both of these organizations have received a substantial amount of student attention, and our committee decided that before we decide on their recognition, we would like to publicly state the criteria in which we would be deciding the recognition of both of these organizations. So as a committee, we voted to table the recognition of these 2 organizations until we return in the spring. If anyone has questions about that decision, please feel free to ask me or any member of the administration committee as we discussed it in length. And then the last comment I want to say is if there's ever confusion over whether or not an organization is recognized by Student Senate, please let me know. Reach out to me either with my personal email or with the administration Student Senate email. I have no problem answering those questions. All of the organizations that we have recognized are in an index on our website. If people have a hard time finding that, let me know or let PRC Limpy know and we can direct them there. We are not shy about who we recognize and who we do not. So if there's ever any confusion, just direct someone my way and we'll clear that up. As for the administration committee, that's the end of our report.
Thank you, Senator Zaki. Is there any questions for Senator Zaki?
Yes, I have a point of inquiry.
Yes.
It was my understanding that the Student Senate cannot recognize any politically affiliated organizations. Does this hold true, or what is the stance around that? Because I do understand that these organizations could somewhat be affiliated politically. So what's up with that?
Student Senate does have the prerogative to recognize organizations that are politically affiliated. We currently have 3 organizations that I would define as being politically affiliated organizations, and those are College Democrats, College Republicans, and Young Adults for Liberty, which is a libertarian organization. So we do have the right to do that. That is not in violation of our student handbook or anything. These 2 organizations are, I believe, to classify them as politically affiliated organizations. So before we move forward in deciding their recognition, our committee believes that it's best to set criteria for how we address politically affiliated organizations on our campus. Specifically, one of the 2 organizations we discussed tonight received some attention on social media within the past week, which is what prompted this decision. And we just believe that it's best to create and then also publicize the criteria in which we recognize organizations. That way there's no accusation that Senate is being biased of one political affiliation over another. We take these things seriously. If we believe that an organization is not functioning in accordance with the mission that they submitted to us when they applied for recognition, we have the prerogative to call them out for that and hold them accountable to the documents that they submitted to us. So if that ever becomes an issue in the future, our committee will be addressing it. But to answer your question directly, we do recognize politically affiliated organizations, just not without thought and intention.
Got it. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Senator Zaki? Seeing none, moving on to Committee on Media, Senator Ford.
Yeah, so before I go into my report, I want to motion to approve the Tier 3 budgets as a slate, because I believe we only motion to vote as a slate. And if I'm stating that wrong, Caitlin, let me know. I just want to make sure we get those approved.
You got it, Jolie.
All right, so there was a motion to approve Tier 3 budgets as a slate, and we approved it as a slate. So is there a motion to approve Tier 3 budgets as a slate? Is there a second? All in favor of approving Tier 3 budgets as a slate, please raise your placards.
I have 14.
Thank you, Parliamentarian LeGrand. Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? Tier 3 budgets passes 25-0-0.
All right, so I know that was kind of confusing, but thank you for sticking with us on that. So yeah, back to Committee on Media. We are going to be having a meeting this Thursday from 12 to 12:40 on Zoom. I'm really excited for this meeting just to talk to all the different media organizations and how they're handling this semester, and what we can do as Student Senate to work with them to talk about some of the issues on campus. We're also going to have Reese Jones from the Woodstock organization. It's a group, I believe not an organization, but she's going to attend this meeting to discuss how the media orgs covered Lead Matter Week, and just talking about how media organizations can better represent minorities on campus. So yeah.
Thank you, Senator Ford. Are there any questions for Senator Ford? All right, seeing none, moving on to Committee on Residents, Senator Burns.
No report.
Thank you. Moving on to Dining Services, Senator Robinson.
No report.
Thank you. Moving on to Diversity and Inclusion, Senator Reynolds.
No report.
Moving on to Discretionary Funds, Senator Hoeksema.
All right, so I have 4 proposals to present to you all tonight. I'll try to make it as quick as possible. All 4 of them are through the union and are updates for just students in general. So the first one I'm going to go over is called the Hammock Hangout. Ben, do you want to present that to everyone?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Or do you want me to change it?
Yeah, present it. Maybe back into Zoom.
Just minimize that. Go to the small window.
Yep.
Press the green arrow on the right side.
Thank you, Senator McMillan. All right, there we go.
Quick share.
Yep, I'm getting there. Which one are you doing first, Senator Hoeksema?
The Hammock Hangout.
Oh my God.
Do you want me
Yeah,
to try to do
no,
it?
I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. and then
Can everybody
if
see
you
my
scroll
screen
down-
on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay.
If you would scroll down to the pictures. Okay, so this is basically a proposal. They're requesting $2,300 to put in. So on the visual that Ryan By sent me, it's trees, but really it would be metal poles. And this is just to utilize a space that is unutilized right now. A lot of students like to hang up hammocks around campus, and this would be a place for students to do it all together. So there would be hammocks you could rent out from the game room, and then it's a exchange like usual. So you give your ID to them, and then you get a hammock and you can rent it out and hang it up here, hang out with your friends. You could bring your own hammock. So there are going to be like notches in each pole, so you can put them at different levels so it's accessible to everybody. But in general, that is basically what it is. Does anyone have questions about this one?
Are there any questions on Zoom? Senator Hoeksema, do you want to vote on these separately, or are you going to continue your report?
So they're all varying prices, so I think it would be better to vote on them separately.
Okay. Are you done with this one then?
Yes.
Did you say how much this, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, it's $2,300.
All right, is there a motion to discuss?
Motion to vote?
Second.
Second, all in favor of approving the Hammock Hangout DFC grant, please raise your placards.
I counted 13.
All opposed?
I have 1,
Any abstentions?
2.
2.
2 opposed, no abstention.
All right, this passes 22-1. Senator Hoeksema,
All
you're.
right, so the second proposal I'm going to talk about is called Rock and Talk. And for this one, the union student staff is requesting $4,482 to add rocking chairs and Adirondack chairs to the Chapel View Lounge. So you see that visual right there is in front of the Chapel View Lounge patio. And again, this is a space that is really underutilized and is in response to the increasing number of students that have been like eating outside in front of Founders in response to COVID. So this is another place where students can gather outside, where they can social distance. But in general, it's also just a place to utilize that patio that nobody really ever sits at. And again, they're requesting $4,882. The other chairs they're requesting are rocking chairs, and those are going to be facing the west lawn on the second floor of the Union, right by the student organization suite and the OMP. So if you can go down, actually, Ben, there should be another visual. Okay, that's not there. Oh, wait.
Yep, it's just one.
Okay, but anyway, it's facing out toward the west lawn on the second floor, so those are gonna be rocking chairs, and this is in response to another underutilized space. A lot of students don't really use those chairs that are already there, so this would be another space where students could hang out, socialize, in general. And again, they're requesting $4,482 for that one. Are there any questions about this one?
Senator Pandy?
So as the winter is coming, right, it's outside, so how would that be best utilized? Do they have a plan for that?
Senator Hoeksema, there was a question by Senator Pandy that when it comes to winter, how are they going to utilize this since it's too cold to sit out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So obviously this space is really only going to be, well, at least the Adirondack chairs are only going to be utilized during the early fall and then spring months. So not during the winter, but the rocking chairs will always be out in the Union. So that's a place where students can gather full time during the year.
Senator Pandy, did I answer your question? Are there any other questions for Senator Hoeksema about the Rock and Talk DFC grant?
Motion to vote.
There is a motion to vote. Is there a second? All in favor of approving the Rock and Talk DFC grant, please raise your placards.
I counted 12.
All opposed?
1.
Any abstentions? There are no abstentions?
No, but I don't think I received a vote from Lauren. Did you vote?
I voted yes, sorry.
Yes, okay.
All right, Rock and Talk passes 23-0.
And then, okay, the next one I'm doing it for the scholarship. So this is for a larger amount of money. The employee development team is requesting $11,140. And this is to update to add tables and chairs to the Chapel View Lounge. So here in this diagram, you can see the tables that they're planning to add. And if you go down, you can see exactly what kind of tables. They're high chair and high tables, basically, and they would all have charging stations. So it's a place where students could gather to do homework together, to eat together. And this is in response to another development because of COVID. That Chapel View Lounge is no longer really being used as harassment hallway. It's being used as a gathering space for students. Ryan Bai, who proposed these to us and is in charge of the Union, has noticed lots of students study there with their friends now, and so that's in response. And it's basically another study space, another gathering space for students. If you go down to the diagram again, those blue chairs that are marked are the regular lounge chairs that are usually there during the year. So again, we maybe had concerns about accessibility to students if they're all high tables, but these chairs are the regular lounge chairs, so any student can access those and still be able to hang out with their friends in that space. Does anyone have questions about this one?
Senator Pandy?
Is this something long-term or will they not bring back all the 4 tables? Would this be a permanent thing from now on?
Senator Pandy asked if this is going to be long-term or if this is just going to be temporary.
Yeah, so this is definitely a long-term plan. So right now, student organizations and organizations in general that usually would utilize harassment hallways as a space to talk to students about whatever they were petitioning about have been using the lobby of the Union instead. And Ryan Bai noticed from a lot
of organizations that he's talked to that they prefer being in the lobby instead of harassment hallway because they encounter more students, more faculty that they can talk to about whatever they're presenting about instead of harassment hallway where students usually just try to avoid people as much as possible who are presenting. So yeah, this definitely be a permanent space to utilize for students.
Senator Pandy?
So like that was a big area for like student works to like promote and do other things, compared to the union lobby. So is there another space that like we have the post-COVID era that we have to sign to?
There will be our advisor, Steve Genoak, said there will be the same amount of tables. They'll just be in a different place.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Senator Hoeksema? There is a motion to vote. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the Scholar Stop GFC grant, please raise your placards.
I counted 13.
All opposed? None. Any abstentions?
1.
All right, Scholar Stop passes 24-0-1. And then Senator Hoeksema, I believe you have one more, but I do not have a thing for
Yes,
that.
this one doesn't really need a visual, this is pretty short. So this is from the games room staff. They're requesting $748, which includes shipping and delivery costs to add 2 stand-up games, Pac-Man and a 12-in-1 game, to the game room. So Natalie Kasperger, who is in charge of the game room and other game room employees, have noticed that a lot of students this semester are coming in individually instead of groups. And obviously you can't play pool or ping pong individually, so this is really in response to that. And it would also be a place where student organizations in the future could come and have like a gathering space and play games together as bonding events. The games room staff also thought it would be a cool idea to have like esports or other rec sports teams to come in and play tournaments on these games. So it's really just another way to have students be able to gather there. And again, they're requesting $748 for this.
Are there any questions for Senator Hoeksema?
Oh yeah, point of clarification.
Yes, Senator Raimondi?
You identified these as just, like standing games. Are these like traditional, typical, arcade style units?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Senator Hoeksema?
Motion to vote?
There's a motion to vote. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the game room updates, please raise your, or DFC grant, please raise your placards.
I counted 14.
All opposed?
None.
Any abstentions?
No.
The game room updates pass 25-0-0. Thank you, DFC, for all of your hard work.
Thank you.
Is that end of your report, Senator Hoeksema?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Moving on to presidential report.
I'm just waiting on 3 more reports. I hope to have them by the end of the semester so that I can get a draft done and present it to you guys just in case a new president is chosen before then. I don't think that'll happen, but just in case. End report.
All right, thank you, Secretary Messesny. Moving on to old business. Discussion on SR 002, which is calling for updates or university support for international students. Is there any is there a motion to discuss? Motion to vote?
Motion to vote.
Okay.
All right, there was a motion to vote and a second. All in favor of approving SR 002, please raise your placards.
I counted 14.
All right, all opposed?
0,
Any abstentions?
0.
SR 002 passes 25-0-0. So congratulations to the senators who put a lot of hard work into SR 002. All right, moving on to discussion of SR 003. This calls for an ex officio seats for the vice president and president of the student body to sit on the campus life committee. Is there a motion to discuss? Motion to vote?
Motion to vote.
Motion to vote.
Second, there was a motion to vote and a second. All in favor of approving SR 003, please raise your placards.
Fourteen.
All right, all opposed?
0,
Any abstentions?
0.
All right. Congratulations to those who worked on SR 003 as well. All right, moving on to form of concerns. I see none here. Are there any on YouTube? No? All right, moving on to postmortem. Tomorrow is election day. If you have not already voted, please vote. Indiana's hours are 6 to 6. Illinois' hours are 6 to 7, I believe. And Michigan and Wisconsin are 7 to 8. So if you live in any of those states, I encourage you to go and vote if you have not done so already. This is a very important election, no matter which side you're on, so please go and vote. Moving on to...
Can I add something to the postmortem?
Okay, before we close out, we just passed 2 pieces of legislation with no discussion. To do that unanimously is a very big deal. Like when we give this to the administration, this means that these 2 pieces of legislation had our full-throated, absolute support, didn't even need a discussion at all. And like, if that's the case, that's fine. But just make sure that in the future, when we pass legislation, we can have in our minutes that we had a diligent and productive discussion about the legislation in the future. Obviously, the vote counts aren't going to change, but I just want to warn you guys in the future that that's an important thing to do when Ben and I will present these to administrators, because they're going to ask, what did Senate think of it? And if all we have to tell them is unanimous support, immediately no discussion on every single piece of legislation, it starts to kind of invalidate our consideration of the legislation. So yeah, great job, you guys. It was a long meeting, so thank you.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All in favor of adjourning? I'm going to do placards this time. Please raise your placards.
Fourteen.
13?
14.
14, okay. I was going to say, who wants to stay? All right, meeting adjourned at 9:43 p.m. Thank you guys for a very long meeting. You guys hold up. All right, thank you, everyone.